Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. There I was, Taylor, a teenager lost in a whirl of anger and confusion. Every day felt like a battle, one where I stood alone against the world. My mom, the one person who should have been my ally, seemed like a stranger, too distant to reach. We barely talked, and when we did, it was like two trains passing in the night, never really connecting. I remember walking through the school hallways, my footsteps echoing my frustration. Kids around me chatted and laughed, lost in their own worlds. I felt invisible, a shadow drifting aimlessly. School was a blur of uninteresting classes and unrelatable peers, leaving me more isolated with each passing day. At home, it was no different. The house was always quiet, too quiet. Mom was either at work or lost in her thoughts. I often wondered what she thought about, but I never asked. Our conversations, rare as they were, remained superficial, never delving deeper than the mundane. My room became my refuge, a place where I could let my guard down. The walls, adorned with various posters, felt like the only things that understood me. But even within these four walls, a restlessness brewed inside me, a turmoil I couldn't quite comprehend. One evening, as I sat on my bed, flipping through a magazine without really seeing the pages, I heard Mom leave for her night shift. The sound of the door closing was like a signal, a sudden urge to explore something new, something different. Without really knowing why, I found myself standing up and walking towards her room. Her room was neat, a stark contrast to mine. I hesitated at the door, a sense of trespassing washing over me. But curiosity pushed me forward, guiding my steps to her dresser. There, lined up in an orderly fashion, were her makeup and jewelry. I picked up a lipstick, its deep red color catching my eye. It felt foreign, yet intriguing in my hand. My heart raced as I uncapped it and looked at myself in the mirror. There was a strange pull, a desire to see what I would look like. With a shaky hand, I applied it, watching as my reflection transformed. It was like seeing myself for the first time, a different version that was hidden deep inside. I continued to explore, each item offering a new aspect of myself to discover. The mascara lengthened my lashes, framing my eyes differently while the foundation smoothed out my skin. I was no longer just Taylor, I was someone else, someone who felt more real than I had ever felt. Next, I moved to her closet. The clothes hung neatly, each piece a testament to her simple yet elegant style. I ran my fingers over the fabrics, feeling their textures. A dress caught my eye, its fabric soft and inviting. Without much thought, I slipped it on. It was a simple shift dress, its fabric hugging my body in a way that felt both strange and comforting. I stood in front of the full-length mirror, taking in the sight. The combination of the dress and the makeup made me look different. Feel different. For a moment, I forgot about my anger, my frustration. All that existed was this new reflection staring back at me. But as quickly as the euphoria came, reality crashed back. What was I doing? This wasn't me, or was it? Confusion clouded my thoughts as I hastily wiped off the makeup and changed back into my clothes. I left her room, making sure everything was exactly as I had found it. Back in my room, the turmoil inside me grew. Questions swirled in my head, questions I had no answers to. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling more lost than ever. But deep down, a small part of me felt alive, a part that had been awakened and couldn't be put back to sleep. The next few days, I found myself thinking about the evening I spent in my mom's room. At school, amidst the noise of classmates and the monotony of lessons, my mind kept drifting back to the feel of the lipstick, the fabric of the dress against my skin. It was like discovering a hidden room in a house you've lived in all your life, surprising and a bit scary. One afternoon, I returned home to find the house empty again. Mom was still at work, and the silence of the house was like an invitation. I hesitated, a battle raging inside me. Part of me wanted to forget that night and return to my normal life. But another part, a curious and excited part, wanted to explore more. I made my way to my mom's room, my heart pounding in my chest. Opening her closet, I was greeted by the familiar array of clothes. This time, I chose a skirt and a blouse. something totally different from what I usually wore. The skirt was a soft shade of pink and the blouse was white with little flowers on it. Dressing up felt like stepping into a new world. The skirt swished around my legs, a sensation so different from the jeans I usually wore. I looked at myself in the mirror, and there I was. The same, yet not the same. The person looking back at me had softer edges, a gentleness that I didn't recognize. Next, I moved on to the makeup. I remembered the steps from last time: foundation, mascara, lipstick. Each application was a little smoother, a little more confident. The transformation was fascinating. I wasn't just Taylor anymore, I was someone else, someone who felt right in a way I couldn't explain. I spent what felt like hours trying on different outfits and makeup combinations. Each new look was a discovery, an unveiling of a part of me that had been hidden. I even tried on a pair of high heels, wobbling a bit as I walked. It was funny and exciting at the same time, but amidst the excitement, there was also fear. What if someone saw me? What if they laughed or, worse, got angry? I knew what I was doing wasn't what boys were supposed to do, but it felt too good, too right to stop. Each day, when I knew I would be alone, I would sneak into my mom's room and continue my secret explorations. It became my little world, a place where I could be myself, or at least the myself I was starting to discover. I learned to walk in heels, to apply makeup with a steadier hand, and to see myself in a way I never had before. But with each passing day, the fear of being caught grew. I was careful, always making sure to put everything back exactly as I found it, but the risk was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. One day, as I was dressed in a flowery dress and heels, I heard a sound that froze me in my tracks, the front door opening. Panic surged through me. It was too early for Mom to be home. I wasn't ready to be seen like this, not yet. I quickly took off the dress and heels, my hands trembling, but there was no time to remove the makeup. I heard footsteps approaching, and my heart felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. I braced myself, not knowing what was going to happen next. The door opened, and there stood Mom, her eyes widening in surprise. The room was silent except for our breathing. I couldn't read her expression. Was it shock, anger, confusion? I stood there frozen, a mix of fear and embarrassment washing over me. I had been caught, my secret laid bare. The future, once a blurry unknown, was now a looming presence filled with questions and uncertainties. Neither of us spoke for what felt like an eternity. My heart was thumping so loud I thought it would burst out of my chest. My mom's eyes were wide and her mouth opened slightly, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Finally, she spoke, her voice shaky. "Taylor, what's going on?" she asked, looking at me, then at the makeup scattered on her dresser. I couldn't find my voice. It was like it got lost somewhere between my racing heart and my scared mind. After a moment, I managed to stutter out, "I'm sorry, Mom. I was just trying some things." I could feel my face burning with embarrassment. My mom just stood there, looking at me with a confused expression. Then she did something I didn't expect. She sat down on the bed and patted the space next to her. "Come here. Sit with me," she said gently. I hesitated, but then sat beside her. The bed felt like the safest place in the world at that moment. We sat in silence for a bit, and then she asked softly, "Why were you wearing my clothes and makeup?" Her voice wasn't angry or upset, just curious. It was hard to explain, especially because I wasn't completely sure myself. "I don't know, Mom," I said, looking at my hands. It feels right somehow, like I'm supposed to be doing this." Saying it out loud felt strange, but also a little bit good. My mom nodded slowly, taking in my words. "Okay," she said. "If this is something that makes you happy, we can talk about it more. I just want to understand." Her voice was calm, and it made me feel a bit better. For the next hour or so, we talked. I told her how I felt when I wore her clothes and makeup, how it seemed to calm the storm inside me. She listened, really listened, without interrupting. It was the longest conversation we'd had in a long time. Then she said something that surprised me. "Taylor, if this is who you are, I'll support you. We can figure this out together." Her words felt like a warm blanket on a cold night. I hadn't expected her to be so understanding. That night, we agreed to keep this between us for now. We also decided that I could explore this more, but we needed to set some boundaries, like not using her things without asking. It felt like a huge step, acknowledging this part of me out loud and having my mom's support. Over the next few weeks, things at home started to change. Mom and I talked more about everything, not just about my dressing up. She even bought me some makeup and clothes of my own, so I didn't have to use hers. It felt like we were building a bridge, one that was getting stronger every day. But outside our home, life went on as usual. At school, I was still the quiet, angry kid who kept to himself. Nobody knew about the other side of me, the side that felt more real than anything else. Keeping this secret felt heavy, like carrying a backpack full of rocks. Every day after school, I'd rush home, eager to shed my boy clothes and slip into the outfits that made me feel like myself. It was like living two lives, one where I was just going through the motions and the other where I felt alive. I started experimenting with different looks, trying to figure out what I liked best. Sometimes I'd wear a skirt and a cute top, other times a dress. I loved the way the fabrics felt against my skin, soft and gentle. And the makeup, it was like painting a picture, but the canvas was my face. One evening, we looked online for clothes and makeup. Mom showed me how to measure myself for the right sizes. We picked out a few dresses, skirts, and tops, as well as some basic makeup items. It was fun, like a normal mother-daughter activity. It made me feel warm inside, a feeling I hadn't known for a long time. As we sat there, scrolling through the websites, I realized how much had changed. Just a few weeks ago, I was sneaking around, scared of being caught. Now, here I was, sitting with my mom, planning a shopping trip. The day we went shopping was a big one for me. It felt like stepping into a new world, one where I could be myself. Mom and I walked into the store, and my eyes widened at the rows of clothes and makeup. There were so many colors and styles, it was like a rainbow exploded inside the store. Mom held my hand as we walked through the aisles. I felt nervous, like everyone was watching me, but Mom squeezed my hand, and it made me feel a bit braver. We started with clothes. I picked out some skirts and tops, each one a different color and pattern. Mom helped me choose, showing me which colors looked good together. Then we moved on to the dresses. I was drawn to a pretty purple dress with small white flowers. It was flowy and soft, and when I touched it, it felt like a cloud. Mom smiled and nodded. "That's a beautiful choice, Taylor." Next, we went to the makeup section. There were so many things I didn't know about makeup, but Mom was patient, explaining each item to me. We picked out some foundation, a blush, and a set of eyeshadows. I also chose a lipstick, a pretty pink shade that made me feel happy just looking at it. After we paid for everything, we went home. I was excited to try on all the new clothes and makeup. As soon as we got home, I ran to my room and started trying everything on. The purple dress was my favorite. It fit me perfectly, and when I twirled in front of the mirror, I couldn't help but giggle. Mom knocked on my door and came in. She saw me in the dress, and her eyes lit up. "You look wonderful, Taylor," she said, and I could tell she meant it. It made me feel warm inside, like a cup of hot chocolate on a cold day. Over the next few weeks, Mom and I spent a lot of time together. We talked about everything, school, friends, and my feelings about dressing up. She was always there to listen, never judging or getting upset. It was like we were building a new relationship, one where I didn't have to hide anymore. We also watched makeup tutorials together, learning how to apply it better. Mom was not very good at it, but we laughed and had fun trying. It was nice spending time with her like this. It made the house feel warmer, more like a home. One evening, as we sat in the living room, Mom brought up a serious topic. "Taylor," she said, "I've been reading about gender identity. I want to understand more about what you're going through. If you want, we can look for someone to talk to, like a counselor." I was surprised. I hadn't thought about talking to a counselor, but the idea didn't seem bad. "Maybe," I said, thinking about it. "It might be good to talk to someone." Mom nodded. "We'll find someone who can help us understand this better. I just want you to be happy, Taylor. That's the most important thing to me." One day, Mom came home with a big smile on her face. I found someone we can talk to, a counselor who understands these things, she said, her eyes sparkling. I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. Talking to someone about all this felt big, but I trusted Mom. She always wanted what was best for me. The day we met the counselor, I was a bundle of nerves. The office was cozy, with soft chairs and warm colors. The counselor, a kind lady with a gentle voice, made me feel safe. We talked about how I felt when I dressed up, how it was more than just clothes. It was about being me. She listened, really listened, and her words were like soothing music. "It's okay to be who you are, Taylor," she said. "It's okay to explore and find out what makes you happy." Her words were simple, but they meant the world to me. For the first time, I felt like someone outside our home understood me. In the weeks that followed, our visits to the counselor became a regular thing. She helped us understand more about gender identity, about how some people feel like they were born in the wrong body. It was a lot to take in, but it made sense. It was like finding the missing pieces of a puzzle. We decided it was time to make some changes at home. We turned one of the spare rooms into a dressing room for me, with a big mirror and lots of space for my new clothes and makeup. It was my own little space, where I could be myself fully. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.